anticipated and promised Lesson 11 of my online video course. Those of you that have gone through the first 10, you're now finding yourself on 11. What I decided when I did number 10 was I was going to stop doing the labeling of the lessons and continue on in other fields still related to everything you need to know to become a chess master, of course. The reason was I just didn't want to end up with like 60, 70, 80 videos like lesson 89, 90, 91, where somebody new to the program would come in and say, oh, I have to look at 89 videos, and they're not going to look at any. But there was stuff that needed to be said for a lesson 11, and I've been promising it for a while, and I apologize it hasn't been here, but I want to do my best job possible for you so you can get the utmost gain from it. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Okay, what is Lesson 11 about? Well, it's a common theme that a lot of players will talk about. They'll improve their game, then all of a sudden they hit some kind of a wall, and they stop, and they fall back, they can't win, they go on losing streaks, they don't understand what's going on. And you're going to see a lot of people respond to this question of what to do and why is this happening. You're going to see a lot of stuff like that. I'm going to give you my take because it's based on personal experience, and let's go over it. Okay, what I've got here in the game window, I've got one game here, and I'm going to go over it in just a minute. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on it because I have 3 more games with this player that I played back in 1983, and I was not a master long when I was playing these games, and I was going through one of my slumps, one of my early slumps, and in contrary, this player was going through a tremendous rise, just like I had done and have shown a couple of years ago, or a couple of years before this. So here he's rated 1926, and he just started playing the best chess of his life. And I'll get to his games and his story here in just a little bit. But again, I found myself in a little bit of a slump, and let's try to explain some of the reasons why you can go into a slump. Okay, first off, no matter what your rating is, if all of a sudden you see some improvement in your game, your rating is going to go up. Well, there's one natural instinct when your rating goes up when you're playing somebody. They like to see that rating, and they're up for you. They're ready to give you their best game. So what you have to kind of learn to do is try to raise your game to the next level, because suddenly people are taking you more seriously. Now, arguably, they should take you seriously every game, but there's just something psychological about it when you go up in rating that your opponent is going to even take you more seriously, especially if they know about your results. You know, they're really looking forward to playing you. And if you look at professional sports or collegiate sports, there's always a case of an underdog that comes along and knocks off the top dog off of his throne. So that's good. When you're challenged, that's good. You just have to be ready for it. So if you do get a dramatic increase in rating, it's going to get tougher on you. And what you essentially have to do is keep playing the way you were playing before. Your rating is not going to win you games. Your new rating is not going to win. It's the way you play chess, okay? And as I said, your opponents are now going to be even more ready to face you because now they see that higher rating and they want you. They want your scalp, and they're going to give it their best. So, variety of circumstances are going to come into play, and you're going to have to just be aware of these. So keep doing what you did before. What was it that was winning for you before? Well, that's what you've got to do here. That's easier said than done, but we'll go over these games here in a minute and talk about it a little bit as I go. I don't want to focus a lot on the analysis of this game. I'd forgotten this game entirely. The basic story is I played him 4 times over a 2-month span. We belonged to 2 clubs, and they were played like within days of each other. It was a Friday night club, then we met again on Monday, or vice versa. And then a month later, the 2 clubs had started new events, and the same thing happened. And I won this game, and then I went on and lost 3 straight. And we'll see what's going on. Now, this game is actually a lot closer than I recall, and we'll see it. Okay, and again, I'm not going to spend a great deal. I have black a great deal of time on this. We'll just kind of go through the basics. Both sides are developing their pieces. Okay. The game is basically dead even, and there's some interesting complications here in a minute. I take this pawn, and he goes for the center break, and I go to secure the pawn, see if I can grab that pawn and hang on to it. Okay. Sometimes you can try to play this style of chess. Grab a pawn from somebody and hold on to it. Black will have to defend a little bit, but that's okay. It didn't quite work the way I wanted, and we'll see. I definitely underestimated this player because he was just starting his dramatic increase. And yet, even though I win this game, I was somewhat fortunate and didn't realize that I soon had a tiger on my tail, and at least even more so in the next game after this. Okay, now here's an interesting case. Naturally, I think everyone's going to, if you're playing a blitz game, your instinct is just to take back with the bishop. But I took back with the pawn, and I'm saying, why would I do that? And I just took a look at it. I'm thinking that if I take with the bishop, that this pawn comes up and I bring the bishop back, and I guess maybe he grabs this pawn, and suddenly even though I have the bishop pair, my pawns on the c-file are suddenly weak. I guess that's what I was thinking. So I opted to take with the pawn, and I'm not going to try to evaluate that position. It's not important. I'm just trying to explain the logic behind my moves, and I took with the pawn. This avoids the tempo of e5, and I'm pawn to e5, and I'm not going to fall into that little tactic. I can keep my pawns. Okay, well, he plays there anyway, and now I just grab it, and I have to be careful here. E4 is a valuable square for him. His knight's wanting to get in there to get to f6 or g5, or maybe get his bishop to e4 so he can attack h7. I have to be very careful here. I've got the bishop pair for whatever, and I've taken away the threat of knight takes b5 now, so but I still have to be careful. Okay, so there's queen h5, and like I'm saying, bishop e4 is a threat, as well as knight e4 is a threat, so I have to find some moves, and I'm not going to analyze everything out. I'm just, because like I say, there's 4 games, and I want to get through them and talk more about how to avoid a slump. But you can see I'm playing reasonable moves, but my opponent is just playing good moves too. So you can often be playing mostly good moves, but just 1 or 2 bad ones can just mess you all up, and it makes the slump seem more of a slump than it is. Okay, so in effect, the game has really been relatively even the whole way. It's true I grabbed a pawn, but he found adequate compensation for it in his play. Now I have to give back the pawn, and I find some little tricks here. You'll see what I do here. I make an exchange, and then now suddenly I'm actually down a pawn, but I'm going to win it back. I drive his rook out of there, and suddenly I'm on the 7th rank. Okay, so he grabs a pawn back. Now he's a pawn ahead again. So really, black doesn't have a whole lot here. Really, a logical result for this game is to be a draw. But as I said, I'm able to win this, which I believe caused me to underestimate this particular player. Okay, so the only advantage black has is his pawns are a little more advanced, but generally speaking, this game should probably still be a draw. The white king is active, the black rook is active, the black bishop's even a little better than the white bishop's a little better than the black bishop here. Okay, so let's just move on and see what happens. Okay, and I'm not going to sit and illustrate exactly where white missed his draw. That's not important to the issue. Just suffice it to say, white's playing well. Okay, he's playing stronger than a player rated 1926, and I think anyone can see that. And anyway, he's kind of slipped up to let my pawns get a little farther, so pretty much the game's turning into black's favor now. And he does a few checks, and I don't remember if time pressure had much to do with this at all. That's not important. But finally, he allowed a3, and the black pawns were just too strong. Black's going to win this. Okay, so I won the game, and now we're going to play again just a few days later, as I said, and let's go ahead and get that game up. And again, White has every reason to be optimistic about his chances here. It's a shame I lost this game. I just basically blundered it away. I probably missed a number of stronger moves. I'm not going to sit here and try to demonstrate exactly where it went wrong. That's not important. I more or less want you to see the style of play we're both playing. Even though maybe I didn't play the best move each time, I was at least finding good moves. It's just that I let my advantage get away, and you can't do that when you're playing better players. And clearly I've underestimated this guy. He just went on this great streak. And he wasn't just beating me, he was beating everybody. He was beating all the Class A players in our club, those rated around him, 1900. He was beating all the other experts in the club, 2000 to 2199. I think he was drawing against one or two other masters we had there. He was just playing great chess, and he found his rhythm. And I don't know when this is the Flora McInnes attack again or the English opening. I'm not exactly sure where it exits theory, but really White's got everything to be happy about here. Free development for all the pieces, and the Black King can't castle. Gee, what else can White ask for out of an opening? There's not much more he can ask for. And again, I do believe this game caused me to underestimate this opponent, because I'm still going to lose to him 2 more times after this, as you will see. Okay, so then after I get through this game, we'll talk a little bit more about how to get out of a slump. But we're getting an idea here of what kind of game I'm getting. I'm in a slump myself. I'm trying to play out of it. I'm not just losing to him. I'm losing to a few other people, and I'm trying to break out of it myself. And you can see I'm playing reasonable moves. But again, it comes back to your opponent will be playing reasonable moves because they're ready for you. And this particular guy, like I say, he was just on a roll. And, he's got himself a bad game. White has numerous opportunities. Now, White doesn't want to trade queens here. White's got the advantage, wants to attack. So I keep the queen on the board, bring it back. It'll come back into action later. And I just continue my development, and look at Black's queen side. It's not developed. White's got everything here. The only thing that Black has going for him is he's got a couple of nice knights. And I remember even after the game, there was a FIDE master that was hanging around. A good friend of mine was hanging around the tournament and complimented the guy on his very nice knights. It's true, he did. He had really good knights, and he found good squares for him. Set up a blockade to counteract the bishops, because I'm going to end up with the 2 bishops against the 2 knights here in a little bit. And you'll see. Okay. And there he takes it off. And I don't mind the double pawn. It gives me an extra open line. But look at the blockade he's got now with the knights. That knight is permanently anchored on c4. For what it's worth, black rules the queen side. Okay. Permanent positional advantage. But, however, White has attacking potential on the king side. And that's what I endeavor to do. Okay, so at some point I should probably shove my king over to h1 and get a rook on the g file. I don't do that for a while, but I'm trying to break open the pawn, the board a little bit with pawn advances, and he stops that, but I find a way to still advance my pawn. It has to do with the pin. If he takes on f5, I can take back with the bishop and solve the problem of my double pawn. So he has no part of that. And as I say, White can probably count as wins in this position. The White position is just overwhelming. King h1 is called for, followed by rook g1, and White will just strangle Black to death here. Black's going to have a horrible time defending g6. But I've kind of found a more direct approach. It's probably not the best choice, but it sure looks inviting. It looks like a reasonable candidate move. Bishop g5 is trying to plant the bishop, the bishop on f6 with check. It wins in exchange the quality. It doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it, but White probably had better continuations here, and he's in desperate straits here. he's got the queen side established. He's just got to hold on the king side, and he's okay. And again, even though I miss better continuations, well, I just missed them. I didn't play the best moves. I didn't try hard enough. And I can't give you all the reasons why. I'll just kind of summarize them in a little bit, because I certainly tried the best I could. It looks like white's making progress, but black is hanging on. And there finally I do the king to h1 maneuver. But now he has g5, and he's kind of breaking out of it. And if I take on g5, then f2 is going to hang. So I got to be careful here. So just didn't play it right. Now I took it, and unfortunately what's going to happen here is I'm just going to make a horrible blunder here in a minute, and you'll see what goes wrong. But let's just stop and assess this for a second. Look at black's queen side. Those knights rule, and his king has managed to get himself out of some of the danger here. White still looks like a solid, has the better game. I still think I'm going to win this position. I mean, wouldn't you? You've been outplaying the guy the whole game, and he's just hanging on. White's still got to be optimistic. But unfortunately, I made an oops here. I just overlooked something. You'll see it here in a moment. Okay, so there it is. That's the blunder. Before I play it, white's got a slight advantage here. I guess I have to watch the bishop on d2, but his h5 pawn is weak. Maybe that bishop can still get back into play somehow, somewhere. I guess if white trades rooks, he should be okay. Maybe go for the ending. The two bishops can beat the two knights, but all that's not important. Black has played well. He's defended this to the best of his ability, and I'm just missing the best moves, and that's just due to misanalysis on my part, not anything else. But here, there's a fatal flaw here. It's the check on f3, and oops, suddenly everything's hanging, and if I play queen takes knight, rook takes bishop, and I'm down a piece. So I just fumble around a little bit, and game's over. Yeah, look at this. This is horrible. Give up the queen. What else? I'm lost. Game over. Okay, let me go on to the next game, and then I'll talk for a second. He did have the advantage that he had white in the majority of these games. So, okay, let's just take a brief respite here before I show the next game. What's happening here? Okay, I'm playing good chess. The moves I'm finding the right moves in some of the positions. I'm not finding the right moves in a lot of the positions, though. So, what can I do to improve that? Well, you have to take your lumps. You're going to go in the slumps. You're not going to see the best moves all the time. This is a case where I was doing it. So what I should do, and I'm not going to do here in this video, and what I did way back in 1983 when these games were played, I went back and I started tearing these games apart. What could I have done better? What could I have done better? This all goes back to my lesson 1, where I say you analyze your games. And so by going back and analyzing them, I was able to start finding better moves, and then when I get into a tournament situation again, trying to get my focus back, where I will find the best candidate move, and I will analyze candidate moves correctly. Maybe I was playing impulsively there, just looking at one move and trying to make my one move work, and not spending enough time on candidate moves. I can't give you all the answers, but if you follow the main path of finding candidate moves and evaluating them to the best of your capability to see what it is, then comparing and contrasting them with each other, and there's a good chance you can play the best line. So I can probably honestly say I wasn't really all that careful with candidate moves at this time. I was playing under a lot under instinct and a lot under momentum, because I was kind of hot at this time. I shot up from 2,000 to 2,200 in pretty quick time, and was holding my own against other masters, and I was beating the players between 1,900 and 2,100 consistently. That I that I was playing. And when I had that rating, I was holding my own against the higher ones. Now I was doing what they were supposed to do against me, but couldn't. Okay, so I was in a slump. It's just honest. To get yourself out of a slump, you have to go back to the basics, and the basics are analyze your games and come back and focus on candidate moves. And here, this next game, I have a reasonable game. I used to play the perk defense back in the 70s when I was Class B, working my way up to Class A, and I was rather fond of it. I ended up giving it up for the Sicilian, and my results got better. I don't recall exactly why I played it here against this guy, but because I certainly wasn't playing it, but I did. Maybe just to be different, avoid his preparation. And I know that he liked to play the slower line that he said Karpov favored. And we'll just kind of run through this real quick. He goes to Fianchetto to get rid of my Fianchetto bishop, and I just go to expand on the queen side. Maybe White's going to try to castle queen side, and then I'm getting ready for my counterattack. But curiously, White doesn't castle in this game for a long time. Game gets a little tactical here. And B4 is a real tricky move. There's knight hanging. This pawn is hanging on B4, but then his pawn on E5 would hang. It's very tricky and complicated, but I managed to make a blunder here in a minute, but he doesn't find the right move. We'll see what happens when we get there. Okay, tempo the queen. It looks like Black's playing this reasonably okay. I've managed to not drop the pawn back. The outcome is still in doubt. Black, I haven't completed my development on the queen side yet, but I seem to have a reasonable game, and I actually do. Okay, now develop and attack on E5, so he guards it. Get the pawns rolling. Now there's kind of a double threat here, and I have resources. I just didn't find the right ones. I'm not to go into the right ones, but C5 and D5 are hanging, and I come up with this interesting move, and it should lose. Well, actually, it was okay. I think this is the losing move, but he doesn't play it right. If he just plays Queen A5, I think I'm toast. But I ended up getting some counterplay here to get my piece back. So here I've given up a piece. It was all planned, but I just overlooked Queen A5. Now it's interesting, I'm on both of his knights. So he stops and guards one. And now I get my development going and attack his queen. Attack his queen again. And here I'm going to win my piece back. So I've played, pretty reasonable moves. There was a tactical flaw in this whole line. I don't remember how much of I foresaw, but I have managed to restore the material imbalance here, because he's going to drop his piece back. The knight on D2 is under attack, and it's guarding the knight on E4, so he has to give back a piece. So I get it, and notice that White still hasn't castled. And now, for what it's worth, White's a pawn ahead, but Black has the better development. I've managed to get my development going, so, and then I continue so, and finally he castles, and try to anchor the knight in on F5, and I ended up just committing this horrible move here. Right here, it was one of those hallucinations where you look at things and you like what you see, but you don't count the pieces right, and I need to take on F5, and the outcome's in doubt. White's a pawn ahead, but it's still a game. And I just basically just didn't count right. I'm just going to lose a piece when this is all over. And there it is. I'm down a piece, so I just outright blundered. I get a little bit of nuisance value here, but there's really not enough. And I'll just kind of show the last moves. The game is hopeless. Hey, attack E1, but now my king's in a little bit of hot air. And here comes his knight into play, and now he's threatening my back rank, and looks like the game's just about over. Look at that. I'm in trouble. I'm beat. Time to give up. Okay, one more game against this guy. And this is a pretty interesting game. There's an interesting line that he was prepared for, and I'd never seen. And I broke all my principles of chess that you'll see here in a moment that I talk about. Development, don't grab pawns, things like that. Well, hey, if you're good, you can sometimes, if you think you're better than your opponent and are a good player, sometimes you can get away with it. Well, I couldn't get away with it here. Okay, so here's attacking c5. So I guess simple and logical is just to play d6 here. Maybe even b6 is playable. But going into the theme of this opening, black is playing for d4. It's obvious the fianchetto bishop and the knight are controlling d4 and the pawn. I just went for it. But apparently that's wrong, and he said there's a book line or something. He had this prepared knight. Now he plays knight ce2. And now he's getting ready to kick that knight out of there. So what do we do? Here's what I did. I took his knight. I went pawn hunting. And this breaks all the principles that I talk about. Don't go grabbing pawns. Get developed. But I gave it a try, and now we get to see this player at his best. He's obviously capable of defending. Now, can he attack? He's played good defensive chess in all these games. He's held his own. What can he do? And now he gets his pawn back. Okay, so I've got a crummy game. Look at this. White's ready to castle. White's got 3 minor pieces out, and the rook's on an open file. What have I got? 1 fianchetto bishop. That's it. Well, what I need to do is just consolidate, play d6, and catch up in development. Okay, that's what I need to do. But hey, like I said, I went for it. I'm after material, and look at that. Hey, I'm a pawn ahead, but I got problems. I'm not developed. And anyway, maybe it was just, I don't know why I did this. Clearly I wanted to beat this guy, and maybe the only way I thought I could do it is just to snatch pawns from him. I don't know. But look at this. Black has absolutely no development. White's up a pawn, or black's up a pawn, but what's he got? What have I got? Nothing. And he just keeps developing. And finally, I'm trying to get castled. I'm trying to do things, but he's just not going to let me rest here. There's an attack on my queen, and it looks like maybe black's okay here. If you're trying to, you can't always calculate these things out and over the board game. It's just all the variations. It's just risky to do this, and I did it. I took the risk, and he played this very well. Eventually, I'm just going to crack, and look, I still can't castle queen kingside because my knight's hanging. So what do I do here? I'm just in trouble. And then he just starts getting his pieces going. I don't know what that was all about. Knight c8, I wrote a question mark on my score sheet. Maybe knight f5 is a little more active, but yeah, look at this. Opening up lines. Why not? He can afford to give up another pawn. And wouldn't you know, I'd go and snatch it. But what are my alternatives? I almost have to. He's going to take on d5 and isolate my pawn on d5, have open lines on my queen. So I ate it. I am 2 pawns up. If I can survive this, I'm okay. But unfortunately, I can't survive this. Now, where's my queen go? Well, I went over here. It just takes its ghost. Now look at this. Where's my queen go? Gosh. Well, I went for broke here. I took his knight off. I figure I'll get enough wood for it. Maybe I can hold on. But even though from a materialistic point of view, I've got a rook and knight for the queen and a pawn or two, even though it's doubled. If you look at pawn count, I'm actually a pawn ahead. See, it says that black has 26 points and white has 25. But look at the white's position, and black still isn't developed. Black still can't castle. This is just a horrible game for black. He's playing it well, and look, 7th rank. He's just improving his position. I'm trying to do anything to get out of this bind, but here comes the queen into my position. What do I do? Ouch! Look at that queen. I'm just crawling all over me. Here's one last piece. Let's get in the game. If black can defend this, maybe he can blockade it. Maybe, but it's an unenviable task to say the least. Oh, there goes the material. Now I've got a lost game. He's got a queen and bishop for 2 rooks. That's enough. And, you know, it's curtains here. I'm trying to find some flight squares for my king, but there just aren't any. And, yeah, game over. Okay, so I played poorly. My opponent played great. As I said, he was playing great chess. And it wasn't just against me. He was playing against everybody. So let's try to tie all this into where we're coming from. What did I do wrong? Well, I ran into a hot player. But at the same time, I wasn't playing my most accurate chess. And when you're playing a good player, you have to play accurate chess. And when your rating goes up, you are going to be playing good players, and they're going to take you seriously. So chess requires a lot of precision. You do have to work. Even an international master, for instance, he has to work against his fellow international masters, because if he just relaxes just a little bit and doesn't try his best, this game's going to turn on him. So you have to be sharp. Chess is a game where you're going to have to be sharp. And when you're in a slump, there's reasons for it. And one of those reasons, like I say, is you're just not playing your best. And you've got to work your way out of it. And I've said how you work your way out of that. You got to practice your candidate moves. You got to make sure when you're playing a game, you're looking at your candidate moves. You got to do your best evaluation of your candidate moves. And you certainly can't do what I did in this game and just go grab a few pawns and expect to survive. I mean, I tried it and I was punished. So, okay. Now let's talk a little bit about him, because he made, I think, a very serious strategic error. At the conclusion of this tournament, after these tournaments, his rating was just going through the roof. It ended up around 2120. As a matter of fact, if you see my series on the Nimzovich defense, after the promo, the first video I made was my first game with the Nimzovich defense, and where I played it before I really knew everything much about it. And the guy I played against was this fellow, and if you've seen that, I beat him. And it was after he came back to chess, because what this guy did was he made a big mistake. He stopped playing. And the reason he stopped playing was he wanted to see what his rating was going to be. He wanted to see what was going to get published at. Well, that was a big mistake. He's hot. He should keep playing. I don't know if he's afraid of losing rating points or what. I tried talking to him. I said, no, John, you got to play. You're playing so well now. You got to keep playing while you're hot. But he wanted to see his published rating. Now, if he's good enough to get a published rating like that, even if he loses it, he can get it back. Maybe he didn't realize that. Maybe he just wanted to see his published rating. I think that's his mindset. It was the wrong mindset. Just, if you're hot, keep going. So he took off for a good 3 months until the rating came out. And then what happened? What happened to him is what happened to me. He started going into a slump. And why did he go into slump? Well, same reasons. He was expecting his rating to do the work when he had to. People were taking him serious, like they were taking me seriously, just like he had, obviously, as I've shown in these 4 games, was taking me seriously. He lost his competitive edge, too. He was used to intense battles where he was finding the right choices, and he got out of that for 3 months. And he never actually recovered from this. He never, to my knowledge, never made master. Never really got maybe above 2150 at best. And I haven't seen him in years. I don't know what's become of him. It's not really important, but he definitely had the capability to become a master. I mean, if you look at his games here, he's certainly playing 2100 chess. And just a little more practice with players like myself, and he was on his way. So that's the mistake he made. Like I say, he went inactive when he was hot. So when you're on a streak, don't stop. You got to keep going. Okay. So now, what else does this have to do about getting out of a slump? Okay. Like I said, a lot of people will give their methods for getting out of a slump or whatever. I say you basically just have to go back to the basics. And like I say, what are the basics? Analyze your games and candidate moves. Okay. If you do that, you'll find the things that got you to where you need to be. And you got to sit down at the game and treat everyone serious and say, you know, this guy's after my scalp. He knew me when I was rated 200 points lower, and now he sees I'm 200 points higher. He's going to take me serious. So I know he's capable of playing a good game against me. I know he's capable of beating me if I relax. I can't relax against this guy, and I can't give him a chance. He might think this is my last chance to beat this guy before he gets really good, and I can't give him any kind of psychological edge like that. I got to come out and play chess against him. So, my 4 games I've shown here, I played reasonably well. I'll beat 1,800 players with these positions. There's a lot of people I could have grabbed that pawn against and defeated, but not this fellow. He was just too hot, and he played playing very well. Anybody higher than him, I wouldn't have. I guess I just didn't believe this guy could keep beating me. But I learned my lesson. I think we played about 3 times after that, and I did win them all. He never beat me again. I was happy to say that I solved the mystery, but I think again one of the reasons why I beat him after that was because he kind of defeated himself and didn't continue when he was hot. Okay, so let's talk about you again. No matter what your rating is, all of a sudden you hit that wall and you start falling back. Okay, you want to pull your hair out if you have any. You want to scream, whatever. You just can't understand why you're not winning like you used to be. It's just a natural thing in chess. No matter how well you're playing, there's going to be times when your opponents are just playing better than you. Okay, give them credit. There's a lot of good players out there, and maybe they picked that one day when they played you to play their best chess. It's going to happen. You can't win all the time. You're going to get bad games, and people are going to play great games against you. I mean, look at this. This guy played 4 great games against me. Even the second game where I missed all kinds of decent attacking chances, he did the best he could with what he had, and then finally I cracked. I dropped the piece, and gave him a piece in the other one. I gave him every opportunity he wanted, but he played well enough to make things happen. And all it takes is 1 or 2 little errors on your opponent's part, and you're back in the game. Okay, so, but like I say, don't worry about a slump. Let's look at it this way. Pick a rating. Let's say your actual strength is 1,600. Okay, you can put any number in place there. Put your own rating in that place. Now let's just suppose that you gain 200 rating points. Okay, now they're gift points. It's not that you just went up. What's going to happen if you keep playing? Well, your rating's going to drift back down to where it belongs, 1,600, because you're going to lose them a little quicker to players both above and below you. So if your true strength is 1,600, you're going to fall back. Now let's suppose we take away your 200 points instead. Your rating is going to go back up to 1,600 because the points are going to come easier. So one drawback when you have a higher rating is the points can go quicker to people you used to gain lots of points against. Now you have to beat them just to keep from losing points. You can't draw them because you lose points. But the points don't really matter much because you're trying to move up classes. You're not just trying to go up 5-10 points here and there. And it does take time to go the 200 points into the next class, of course. But what you want is consistency in your class. You want to be able to maintain a rating. Okay, if you become 1,600, if you were a little lower and you want to become 1,600, you want to be able to establish yourself there, so that you can then go on to the next level. You got to basically prove you belong where you are. So this is what happens. I had gotten to 2,200, but I hadn't really proven convincingly yet that I belonged there. Okay, I've since proven that. But when you first go up in rating, when you hit that one point, you got to prove you belong there. I've hinted this in other videos. Even if you break like 2,000 in the United States, that they call you an expert, you're not really an expert yet until you've proved you belong there. Because anyone can have a fluke result, a few fluke results, play exceptionally well and go way up and then fall way back down. Anyone can do it. And even though it does say, if you break 2,200, you do get a master's certificate mailed to you. You can say, yeah, I'm a master. Well, in a way you're not really one because you haven't proven you belong there. Yeah, you beat the system, you broke the 2200 mark, you got the certificate, but you're not playing like one until you can prove that you consistently that you can maintain that rating. So that's another thing to think about when you hit that break, when you go up to a certain point and you stop, you can't go any further. Well, you're fine. You haven't proven you belong there yet. You got a whole new challenge ahead of you. So yeah, it's true. You want to keep going up, but you've just gone up. You gotta work to practice the next level, and the next level is to prove you belong where you're at. Now, if you can go up anyway and quick, that's great. But the goal should be to prove that you belong where you're at. Don't worry about the slump. It's going to go over. You'll play yourself out of it. But that's in my opinion, is the key. You got to prove you belong where you're at. And how do you do that? Well, you go through a slump, you get out of it, and you bring yourself back up, okay? Then, like I did, I lost 3 straight games to this guy, and I started beating him again. And maybe sometime I'll show those games. There's one of them already on the Nimzovich defense. I can't remember if that was my first game where I broke the streak. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's rated 2100 in that, and because it was after he came back. But prove you belong where you're at, and how do you? And I've shown you, and I'll say it again. How do you do it? Study your games. Make sure that you apply what you learned in your games. Don't play impulsive chess. See, to come back. When I became a master, I got there on my own talent. I didn't have the complete game plan put together. I had to look back, and I did this back in 1996. As I looked back at my chess career, I said, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And everything you've seen in this video lessons program was something I had basically established 1996. I was going to write a book and never got written. Well, the video became my book. Now technology allows me to do what I want to do. So I already figured this out. What was right and what was wrong with my game. I already knew that. But I didn't know that going in. I had to figure all this out on my own through trial and error. What worked, what didn't work. And then in turn, this lessons program is born so that you can learn what I learned the hard way and hopefully do it the short way. So now you've got an idea how to handle a slump. And, don't worry about it. Like some people have said, when you play chess, someday you're the artist and someday you're the canvas. Give credit to your opponents. They're the ones that are teaching you to be better because they're playing good chess against you. And that's why it's important you gradually rise your rating so you can meet these better players and learn from them, because we're all in, like it or not, we're all in this together. So respect your opponent, respect that they'll play good moves, and come out and do your best. And if you go through a slump, don't worry about it. If you drop a bunch of rating points, as I just explained a little while back, they're going to come back. Okay? They're going to come back because they're easier to get. Drop 200 points. Look how easy they come back. It's that simple. Okay. This just about concludes Lesson 11, how to get out of a slump. I've given my own experiences. I just played myself out of it. Eventually, I got out of it and moved back up again and maintained the master rating ever since. I couldn't really go to the next level because I couldn't get in a situation where I could continue to play 2300s and up. So I switched to correspondence chess and then gradually reduced my over-the-board play. But I'm coming back to chess. It's going to happen in the very near future. I'll be back competing and taking my methods that I've been teaching you and attempting to shoot for the elusive FIDE Master title. I like my chances for it because now I know what I was doing wrong even when I was a master. So this course is for your benefit. It's also for mine. I'm teaching myself how to be a better chess player, and then I can in turn teach more to you. All right. That concludes Lesson 11. Will there be a Lesson 12? Perhaps. But I don't know exactly what's going to be in it yet. I know there'll be some points little points I'll want to cover, but we'll get there. But my videos will continue I've got a lot of new exciting things coming up. I'm going to chronicle my career from when I started playing tournament chess. My first rating was 1465, and I'm going to have a series of my games when I was under 1600. And some games I can really remember exactly what I was thinking and why I selected certain moves I did. I have this pretty gifted memory for things I want to remember, and I'm going to share all that. And it looks to be pretty exciting. I plan to launch that soon. Not ready for it yet, but I will be soon. Got a lot of other interesting stuff coming up. I have a new website built, but it's not online yet. We're tweaking it. Lots of things happening that I'm just super excited about. But stick with me. Bring friends to this program. Spread the words. One of the best out there, and it's all designed to help people play better. I'm not going to take my secrets with me. I'm sharing everything I know. You guys know that if you've gone this far. Everything I know is for you guys and gals. I want everyone to learn to play a better game of chess. All right. I thank you so much for your time. That concludes this, and subscribe to my channel and see what comes next. Keep an eye on my website for the new one. All right. Take care. Bye now.